Hello and welcome to Solihull College's virtual open evening for construction in the built environment. I hope you're sitting comfortably. We're going to talk for probably about 20-25 minutes. Just tell you a bit about the course that we offer, the courses that we offer, careers you can get into. We've got a presentation from one of our current students, my colleague, so that's Holly Stokes, and then we've got another bit we'll carry on with Hugh McCalland, who'll be talking about overview of the course. He runs the course, the level 3 options. So I'm the head of school. My name's Deborah Bunce. We're going to have a little bit of a introduction here. So this is a gentleman who works for CIOB, which is one of the main institutions that we link up to. So I just thought you might like to watch this video just to get a bit of an idea of what sort of careers there are in construction. So I'm hoping this is all going to work seamlessly, which it will do, I'm sure. So this is a guy from Kia, is one of the big construction companies, probably one of the biggest ones in the country. They're building King's Cross, a site down in King's Cross. It's obviously a big high-rise block, but they're not just looking at sort of building the building, but they were also showing there in the latter bits, the building services, which is an area of quite significant growth in terms of construction, particularly with COVID. Everyone's looking at how they ventilate and heat their buildings now. So it's another big area, not just the construction side, but I'll go on to explain a bit more about what we do now. So these are where we're ideally as an area trying to get people to. So if you start with us at a level 3 program, we'll be suggesting these sort of career paths. I personally, my name is Deborah Bunce, head of school. I'm a member of ICE, the Institution of Civil Engineers. So we're the sort of people who get involved in the foundations of the building, do the infrastructure for the roads and railways. Then we also have people, CIBSE, which is the Chartered Institute of Building Services Engineers. They're the people who get involved in the heating and ventilation, electricity and lighting and stuff of buildings. We've got CIOB, which is the Chartered Institute of Builders. So they're the ones that actually will manage and plan the building. And then we've got RICS, which is the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors, who get involved in everything from buying and selling houses and doing surveys, but they also get involved a lot in the quantities and the planning of work. So these are the 4 big sort of chartered institutes that we're trying to get to. So if you do a level 3 course with it, you start on a pathway that might lead you to one of these organisations. So I'm a civil engineer, so I'll unashamedly start talking about that. So civil engineers, this is what my institution do. We do all the stuff that is the infrastructure behind it. So the railways, the waterways, the flood defences, power, loads of projects, loads of opportunity for work in these areas. Sorry, let's just put in there the email addresses so that you know who you're going to speak to if you want to get in contact with us any further information. So I'm Deborah Bunce, head of school, and as I say, Hugh McCullen's going to talk to you in a minute. He's the programme lead and course tutor. So if you want to do more information and you don't get a chance to ask a question at the end, or you think of something later on, please just take a quick note of those and you can always email us. Okay. So we're called the School of Built Environment Sustainable Technologies because we get involved in everything involved in the built environment, but we're also trying to develop that sustainable side of it as well, because a lot of what we do in the building is very carbon inefficient and we're trying to make it more carbon efficient. Before we go any further, then I'll ask Holly if she'll just do a quick chat about how she's got to where she is. I've put with Jacobs there. Oh, let me go back a bit. Stop sharing that bit. So Holly's been with us for I think 3 years now at various, she started as a level 3. Let me see where I can share that one. So I've hopefully got to your presentation, Holly. There we go, and then there we go.
Okay.
All right, Holly.
Yeah, right. So hi, I'm Holly Stokes. I am an apprentice. I work for Jacobs currently. This is just a little bit about myself. So my name is Holly Stokes. Current job role, I'm an apprentice geotechnical engineer. I haven't always been a geotechnical engineer. I was a structural engineer for a couple of years before having a bit of a move around with work. I have been studying at the college since 2017. So I started on a level 3 BTEC in construction and the built environment. And I'm currently on a level 5 HNC and HND, which I'll move on to next year, in construction and management. So that's just a little bit about myself. If you want to go on to the next slide, Deb. So how did I get to where I am today? So I decided after 2 years of sixth form that I wanted to do an apprenticeship. Now, I'm sure a lot of you in high school can understand what a pain exams are, etc. And I feel you 100%. I don't like exams that much. I don't do very well. And I found that actually apprenticeship was probably the best way forward for me. I did 1 week of work experience in my first year of sixth form with the company that I'm with now, and I loved it so much. I decided, you know what, I'm going to go for a apprenticeship in civil engineering. It was relatively difficult kind of transitioning from school to work, but you know what, like with the part-time and how like with it being part-time, you're still kind of doing bits of education, so you're still doing something that you're very familiar with, whilst also trying out those skills that you learn at college whilst you're also working, as I have found over the last 3 years myself. Was it hard to get an apprenticeship? It was a little bit. I had a bit of help from school when I was there. However, I did reach out to managers at the office that I did work experience with and the HR, and pushed for an apprenticeship opening. And when it finally came around and I put my name in, I ended up being one of the first candidates that they wanted, definitely, after going through interviews. It's definitely hard being an apprentice. You do have to manage both your work time and your uni time and how you do your assignments, but I find that they are very like interchangeable. They link together, so it's not too difficult. One thing I possibly would have done differently was definitely going into it sooner. So probably right out of high school, where you guys are, where I think you're all in about year 9, year 10, year 11, going into year 11. So if you feel like you want to go into this kind of apprenticeship, it's definitely worth it. Definitely worth it. In terms of the actual course, well, actually, no, we'll go on to projects I've worked on first. So projects I've worked on, which you might find interesting, I've had a hand in the California high-speed rail. I've also had a hand in high-speed 2 in the UK as well, helping out with some of the documents being prepared for that. Team 2100, which is the Thames Estuary Asset Management, which is what that stands for, basically looking at all the flood defences along the Thames going through London. Worcestershire County Council Maintenance Contract is where I started. That was a lot of my own projects, managing what I do. A more recent one, Milliman Havrig Flood Defence, which is in that bottom right-hand corner there, that image there, lovely town up north that I'm helping to development documents for. So as you can tell, I have a lot of responsibility as an apprentice. You're not just the one running around getting the tea and coffee for people, you're doing it.
Okay, sorry, I got lost in there.
That's all right. One of my slides is missing. That's fine. That's fine. So I was going to go on to talk about a couple of things at the college. I must admit, it's very technical in terms of it links directly to the work that you will do outside of the college. So the skills that I've learned, which unfortunately aren't in this presentation, but I've learned how to do a lot of technical drawings and actually producing documents which are then sent out to contractors, and it's been very helpful. Report writing is another big one. I've kind of moved around with what areas I've focused on at work, and report writing up until recently has been a massive area for me. And it's like the things that I've learned through college have really helped to understand how to talk professionally. And yeah, otherwise it's a great course. I hope you will enjoy this open evening, and I maybe hope to see you around college. Pray that COVID-19 calms down and I can see you all there. So there we go.
Thank you very much, Holly. Let me go back to my other presentation now. This is where it's not going to be in the right place, so let me just find it first and go back up. Oh no. Right.
Just while you're loading that up, if I can, please, Deb. One of the skills Holly's developed is you started off, I believe, Holly, using AutoCAD, which a lot of the students start off with, and then you've progressed on to something called building information modelling, and you've become very good on that. Now, probably to a lot of people at school, if we say building information modeling, they don't know what that is. But I mean, if you look it up, how would you describe it, Holly? I mean, if I was going to say to the students, particularly, probably mainly, we get a lot of males in the area. If you play Call of Duty, it's almost like the 3D version of the rooms, isn't it? That's probably
yes. So it's a lot of 3D well, modeling and providing information. So the very smart drawings that we can do through Civil 3D, which is another AutoCAD application that we can use, and the information that we can put into different points on like beams and on road layouts, etc. It all goes to the client, where they can then take this information, and rather than having lots and lots of documents, it's a very kind of smart drawing where everything that they need to know is in there, along with a couple of extra documents just to kind of explain some things. It's all good. And whilst that sounds very complicated, it's really not. It gets easier over time.
Is it fun to learn it, Holly?
Definitely. I've really enjoyed learning BIM. It's more and more sought after with clients. It kind of started off with, okay, I want one or two drawings, and then a bunch of different documents all telling me all these reports, etc. And now what people are asking for is efficiency, and it's such a fun thing to learn, because it's so complex, but yet very, very interesting to kind of understand how these things work. Or at least I find it interesting.
I know you're very loyal to your company, Holly, but if you were to move, if you've got skills like BIM behind you and really good use of AutoCAD, what do you think that does to your employment prospects and your earning potential?
It makes my life a lot easier. If I ever decided I wanted to move to a different company, I could provide to them like worked examples of, look, this is what I've done with my previous company. I can bring this to your company as someone with this kind of experience, and it makes me a lot more hireable by people, whether I wanted to go for another big corporate company similar to Jacobs, or maybe someone smaller who works mostly in like housing or something like that. It's really good.
So okay, sorry, better move on. Sorry, because time's ticking forward, guys. Sorry, I've got a half an eye on the clock here. Thank you. Do you want to explain a bit? Unfortunately, Mohammed wasn't able to come today, but do you want to explain a bit about his career path?
Yeah, Mohammed was one of our full-timers, and he come on the course that you're looking to do. He completed the first year. While he was in the second year, in both the first and the second year of the course, you have to carry out work experience, and he went to a local building services company, Couch Perry Wilkes, and he got offered a full-time position before he left the course. So last year he was finishing off his second year of the course, and he'd already gained employment to start when he was complete. Indeed, he's not the only student that's done that, and in most years we find some companies might have offered apprenticeship positions, and they get let down. The same person might have had two offers, and they decide to go for one company rather than the other. And employers tend to come back to us that we know and ask if we can fill. And we've put a lot of full timers onto these type of into companies with well-paid positions to learn skills that Holly was saying, like CAD and BIM, and start off there and looking to progress as many of our students have done. Okay, am I doing the projects, Deborah? Do you want to do that?
Yeah, I don't mind talking about it. So obviously you'll all know about HS2, which is the high-speed rail link. That's having quite a big effect in the area. The government's committed to building that. We've also, well, they were committed to building more at the airport. Not sure how that's going to go now that we're in a COVID world, but there are, because of HS2, there is a big interchange going in at the airport. There's a lot of interest in housing development. We've got lots of students who are employed by people like Taylor Wimpey, Barrett Homes, people like that. There's also lots of stuff. I'm in office development. I can see that changing, possibly office redevelopment into housing, or some of the retail developers might move into housing moving forward as we change the way we use our world after COVID. Quite a few of our students get involved in maintenance of existing infrastructure. There's I know people for the whole of my career have been working on maintaining the high-rise sections of the M6 and the M5. So some of that's been, and we've been out to see some of those sites where they're looking at rebuilding the viaducts without actually affecting the traffic over the top. just a little bit more then on what you could do then, what skills. We've already talked a lot about CAD drawing, 3D drawing, which is what BIM is. We do a lot of part of the course is about surveying, so you go outside and measure things using theodolites and levels and total stations. There's a lot of stuff looking at costing and monitoring costs and planning costs, programming, data control. So we're leading up back to what I sort of started off with. The careers you could go into is things like architecture, civil engineering, construction engineer, building services, quantity surveyor, and building surveyors are all routes you might do following this course. And I'll hand over to you, Hugh, talk about the courses, the different bits of the course.
Okay, so as we've touched on, we've got many different options, you know, for the courses. Not most years, you know, a lot of you could become apprenticeships. This year, it's been extremely difficult with so many companies on furlough and people working from home. They've not recruited the young apprentices that they would normally do. Whether that's going to happen for you guys next year remains to be seen. But if not, you know, come on our course and study full time. You know, at some point, some of the companies will be getting busy again, but then they are going to have shortages because they won't have taken anybody on for a year or so. And, you know, they will look to the college and people with the skills to fill in and take these positions. So there's lots of opportunities, civil engineering, on our different pathways. You can go into any of these. So on the level 3, we structure the unit, so you're doing things like health and safety, science and materials. You have got an exam on the course now, but then when you specialize, you can go into a lot of the different areas. So some of the areas there shown are for companies that are coming 1 day a week. If you're in on the full-time course, that represents typically about 3 days across the week. We try to keep that to allow you to work part-time elsewhere, and indeed 1 or 2 people already work in construction and attend the course full-time. As I've mentioned, you need to do the work experience. In the second year, you do the extended diploma, where you come back, and it's the equivalent, but in the 2 years, it's the same as A levels. If you leave after 1 year, you don't get the full qualification, but if you're here for 2 years, you get the equivalent of, and you get good grades, you get the equivalent of 3 A levels, the same as anybody looking at sixth form. The big difference is you're starting to learn about construction, and you're becoming industry specific to get your knowledge up. And you know, many of the students on our courses will go on to things like university, and you will have a distinct advantage over people that have done A levels in your knowledge of construction. You'll know what concrete is, what cavity walls are, different types of buildings. You'll have a lot more knowledge there. You know, in the first years, we'll teach you things like CAD, building surveying. We tend to do that one in the in fact, no, we're doing it in the first year now, where you'll look at buildings and you'll learn to identify defects. There is a bit of maths. It's no harder than what you've done at school on your GCSE. And then the science, that'll look at things like science and materials. You know, in the last couple of years, obviously we had the terrible fire, and we're looking, you know, what materials burn, what they don't burn, what materials are sustainable, you know, how can we make sure we don't run out of materials. So you'll learn about all these different areas in the first year of the course. The second year, you do a bit more maths. That's getting a higher level. You know, a lot of students going on to university need the further maths. We do sort of structures where you learn a bit about more detail about loads, etc. You know, again, many people want to go into the civil engineers. And we do that. What we're trying to do across for 2 years, and some of these units change depending on the lecturers we've got. I mean, we've got a couple of doctors that teach on the courses and people at university. We've got a very well qualified team, and we allow them to deliver the specialists areas. What we're trying to give you is an overview and not put you in any one direction, let you do that, okay? The thing to get on the course, you need to have your English and maths and a science, okay? And with your revision, target those grades. You know, at the moment, part of the United Kingdom has said that they're not doing exams next year. England haven't said that, but my suggestion to you guys is make sure you're maximizing every English and maths test you're doing in case it goes to the predicted grades. There's nothing said that'll happen, but if we follow last year, that's what could happen. So get revising now on your English and maths. If you come to a college and you haven't got maths and English minimum grade 4s, you have to take it again. And it is a total pain. That'll be maybe on a day where you're not timetabled into college, or an extra journey, or you've got to come in earlier, or you've got to stay later than anybody that hasn't got it. So the government don't tell you, but it is everybody must have 4s at a college, and that's across whatever course, particularly in our area because of the things like calculating structures, etc. You need to be good at the maths. If you can get 5s and 6s in these grades, you become attractive to employers. And if they come to the college looking for people to fill apprenticeships, for people with the highest grades and good attendance, etc. on the course, will be the ones that they select. Okay. This year, we have taken 1 or 2 people that didn't have their English. As I mentioned earlier, they have to sit it again, and they're sitting it alongside the main qualification because of the COVID. But ideally, we want everybody to have maths and English. You certainly need the maths, and you really do want to get your English. So some of the units from 2020, from this year, we've got our first years at the moment. They're going to be taking exams in January. Hopefully they all pass on that. The rest of the work is internally assessed assignments. 1 or 2 of these are under controlled conditions. Some of them you can take home and do whenever you like. It depends on the content. For example, if you've got maths, you can't really have people sharing the answers because you're just going to get them off a friend. So that would be under controlled conditions. 1 or 2 practical units. I mean, on the built environment, we're not the painters, we're not the decorators. You'll see people doing land surveying where you see them looking through the instruments. We'll teach you computer aided design on the computers, but most of our units are classroom based with calculations and researching product projects, etc. Things that will happen to you as a full-timer in college. You get a personal tutor. With your personal tutor, you can talk about problems. I mean, one day this week, we had somebody come to us just saying, I'm a bit disorganized with my deadlines. Can you help me sort it out? And we do that in your tutorial. We have a class tutorial where if we've got any issues or anything not working, you can feed back to the lecturers. We deliver messages to you as well about careers events, different things happening. You'll have an individual review where we're setting your targets. Students that perform well are targeted and driven. Quite often we get people that will come on this course and say, right, I want to go to university after. I need to get distinctions on all the units because I want to be this university. And people that are set targets succeed with a higher grades. So we'll look and make sure you're online. With the grades, they're all recorded on a monitoring system called ProMonitor, and everybody has individual learning plans. For some people, you may have additional support needs in a variety, common one being some students suffer with dyslexia, and we can support that. We can help you with that. The important thing with that, any learning needs, is when you apply to the college, you put it on the application so that we can give you the allocated support to make sure it's going to get in there. Probably like school, we have a system called Moodle where all your documents are on there, all your assignments, all your work, any learning. It's quite easy to use. At the college, it's a definite three-way partnership. The big difference from school is you're here to where you want to be. Occasionally, we speak to employers. Taking my own group as an example, 2 or 3 weeks back, I'd emailed one of the parents because one of the students wasn't doing very well. Funny enough, I emailed the same a parent yesterday saying how well he's been doing. We're there to support, and it's not to get people in trouble with parents. It's to help. If you have a difficulty, you're struggling with something, to overcome. You're at college because you want to be, and sometimes one or two people do take a little while to settle in, and we try to help, and it can be issues on that. We will not stand for people skipping lessons. You've got to be in college. If you're not in college, we can't help you. And you need to be on time. Being on time is an employment skill. And if you're late, employers are not going to touch you. Again, when we mentioned about putting people into employment positions, quite often employers will say to us, can you give me the attendance and punctuality so far, and a brief progress report on the grades they've got. So that sort of information can be crucial to you getting to work. A safeguarding at college, it's important everybody's safe. We take obviously we've got legal duties, but we take it serious. And with the COVID at the moment, we're trying to make sure everybody's kept at distance, feels safe, and is able to come to college. But you can report anything that makes you feel unsafe, bullying, etc. Which I've got to say, we don't get things like that, or very, very rarely. If you're lucky enough to get an apprenticeship, you'd be looking at starting salaries 12,000 easily. Some of them sort of 14,000, and one or two have started on 20. These can be on 2-year apprenticeships where the companies will send you to college for 1 day a week. They will look for 5 GCSEs with minimum grades of 4 in English, and quite often they specify 5 or 6s in the maths and a science. So that's even more incentive to get on with your revision and get your good grades. Quick look there at some of the companies we deal with. You won't have heard of a lot of these as students are still at school, but companies like Arup, they're on Blythe Valley by the Virgin Active. They've got a big office there. We're going to relocate to town, but they design Atkins, Mott MacDonald. They're all companies that are designing things like HS2 and projects like that. I've actually got 2 sons. I've got 4 sons, but one works for Mott MacDonald, one works for Atkins, and they're all really great companies. You get apprenticeships with any of these, and you'll be very happy, and you'll enjoy them. Okay, and at the end of the day, as I think Deb said earlier, the ultimate goal long term is to become qualified with Institute of Civil Engineers, CIBSE for building services, and Chartered Institute of Building. The building services, just quickly, doesn't tend to be an area people know from school. If you talk to people coming from school, what do you want to be? Typically, it's an architect, a civil engineer, or a quantity surveyor. Building services is putting the heating and lighting in buildings. There's a lot of opportunity for that. A lot of local companies that pay well, that are getting good career progress. So it's a shame Ishmael wasn't there, because he's really, really enjoying working for a building services company. But the type of things you'll be doing on there, you could be designing the cabling for heating, lighting, temperature control, making sure buildings aren't heating up too much in the summer, heating in winter, taking ground source heat pumps where you're extracting heat from the ground to keep the building warm in a sustainable way. These are just some of the type of work you could be doing as an apprentice, gaining accreditation with the professional bodies. Okay, I've mentioned it earlier. I think 100% attendance. If you're not here, we can't help you. The first 6 weeks at college is a probationary period. We ask everybody to be respectful. Our area is very, very good. We get people from all sorts of backgrounds, male, female. I mean, Holly, I think was 2 or 3 girls in your year. We're getting better, but it's still been very male orientated. We respect everybody. We get people from all different backgrounds, and that's our classroom and our college and our area.
Okay, shall I take over there, Hugh?
Yeah, sure.
Just to carry on from that, the staff are across a broad range as well. So we've got people from all sorts of different backgrounds as well from the staff point of view. So it's quite a mixed lot of people involved in the college, all working together. If you complete the course, what's your options then? Well, lots of people go on to university, lots of people will go on to apprenticeships. Some people may stay on and do an HNC, HND. That's quite a well-trodden route for construction workers. And if you do want to apply, you need to go onto our Solihull AC UK website, and then you want to look for built environment is where our courses are. So if you go to construction, you'll end up looking at the trades, which is more the painting, decorating, the bricklaying and stuff. We're called built environment, so we specialise in the more less hand skills orientated, more to do with writing, calculations and stuff to make the buildings work. Okay, so you need to apply on one of the pages on solihullac.uk. If you're having trouble, obviously you can email us.
Shape the world around you. Develop communities and leave your mark for all to see. Study construction and the built environment at Solihull College and University Centre. Build towards a career in architecture, land surveying, building control, civil engineering, structural engineering, building services, site supervision or building management. Our experienced tutors will provide you all the support you need along the way. And once you've finished, you can even progress onto a university level course here at the college. Discover your future at Solihull College and University Centre.
I think that's the end of the show there. Okay, so thank you very much for listening. I'm not sure if there's much on the chat, so if I stop sharing, can you see the Q&A here as we get to the Q&A?
Has anybody got any questions? Please feel free to type your questions in on the chat or the questions and answers, and we can answer any points you want to ask us.
Very quiet. This is where it gets very confusing because we're not sure who's out there, are we, Hugh?
I don't know whether you want to show the email addresses again, Deb, so that if anybody has any questions and you don't, or even if you think of anything. Yeah. Okay, do you need a 4 in science? No, I mean, it's desirable. And it will help you because you're going to be studying some calculations on heat, etc. But no, if science is your weak point, as long as you've got the English and maths, we can accept you on the course without that. Okay, thank you. That was a good question.
I'll go and see if I can find that email. That's the difficulty, is going backwards in that presentation.
Has anybody else got any questions or anything else in the chat?
I will add, I don't think my email's on there, but if people, I can give you guys my email as well if anybody wants to send me any specific messages as a apprentice on the course at the moment.
Okay, I've got a question for somebody asking, would it be the right course to be a residential layout designer? It depends what you mean by residential layout designer. I mean, that type of role is typically done by architects or civil engineers. So if that's what you want to do, I mean, if you're wanting to design layouts for housing, new housing developments, yes, it is. And those sort of opportunities would come up with the likes of your Barretts, your Persimmons. We've had a couple of students go on to do that, so that would be the right course for you if that's the type of work you want to do.
There is a lot of opportunity with the house builders. I think we've had I'm just thinking Taylor Wimpey, Cara Homes, Barrett's. There's quite a few have carried on to not necessarily start at the level 3, but they're certainly on the level 4 programs. So people employ them as apprentices after they've done their level 3, their A levels or their BTEC level 3.
Sometimes as well, don't be put off. Getting into this industry at 16 isn't easy. And particularly in the environment we're in at the moment. I mean, Holly mentioned she'd done the A levels before. Some of the companies might want you to do that. Some will give 16-year-olds a chance, but please do not get yourself down if you get turned down at interview. The competition is fierce, and quite often it's from people that are just that bit older than you. They're no better than you, but just probably a couple of years older and a little bit more experience. The other way of doing it is we've had a lot of students come on the full-time course and progress into work from there, and many have done that before they've finished the course. The courses as well, the BTECs are designed in such a way that you can do that. You can go from the full-time program to part-time study if you get a job. We've had many people do that. I've got another question in the chat, I think. No, it's okay. Anybody else got any questions and answers?
So just to give you an idea, we normally start with two classes of 20. So there's lots of space. Some of the students do not continue into construction. They do the course and then they pursue a career in a different direction. But you can come out with 3 equivalent of A levels that most universities will accept, particularly if you get a distinction. And if you look at the university requirements, they're very happy with a BTEC level 3 extended diploma with a distinction.
I mean, our course, it's one of the harder ones at the college. I mean, it's a lot easier on the level 3, but the really important thing is where our people go, the type of money they earn, and the career projects. It's massively there's massive opportunity there, and if you work hard, you will get into these. 1 or 2 of the students who drop out the first year realize it's actually hard work, and they might go to some of the other areas. People that do well on the course or go all the way through, and they're the ones that are getting the opportunities. In a lot of years, we've had everybody either in employment or going to university. We love when that happens. Obviously, with the COVID last year, not quite happened. A lot of people have gone on, a lot of people have gone to the university, but there was less opportunity for employment this year.
Okay, so if there aren't any more questions, I think we'll probably put a close on it there, because we've had our 45 minutes on the nose. Well done. Thank you very much for joining us. If you've got any other questions, obviously you've got our email addresses. Holly's also kindly put hers on there as well. Look forward to hopefully seeing some of you in the near future.
And a big thank you to Holly for helping us out tonight.
Thank you, Holly.
Good luck, everyone.
Yeah.